He paid only a ration pack for the alien outcast, not knowing she would save his life. Jaren had never been one for taking risks. On the outskirts of Orion Station, a dusty trade post orbiting a dying star, the markets were always a gamble, but he liked to keep it safe. Small deals, ration packs, and supplies that could last a week. Yet, today something or someone pulled him into a gamble far beyond anything he'd ever imagined. The alien appeared in the corner of the market stall, her skin a pale, shimmering violet that seemed to catch every stray glint of the station's flickering lights. Her eyes, large, glistening, and impossibly intelligent, locked onto Jaren as though she had known him for years. Traders nearby whispered in low, wary tones. "Outcast," they muttered. "Don't touch her wares. Trouble follows." But Jaren's stomach growled louder than his sense of caution. He had enough credits for a ration pack, barely enough for a standard meal, and the alien, quiet, small, and with hands that seemed almost fragile, offered what looked like a modest stack of dried nutrient bars. "One ration pack," she said, her voice melodic yet foreign, carrying a resonance that made the hair on Jaren's arms stand on end. "Just this?" Jaren asked, eyeing her with curiosity. She nodded, and without haggling, he handed over his credits. No scams, no tricks, just a single ration pack. He tucked it under his arm and left, feeling a mixture of pity and relief that he hadn't gotten himself involved in anything dangerous. He barely noticed her trailing behind him through the station corridors until a sudden alarm echoed through the hall. Red lights flashed violently as automated defenses activated. "Intruder alert," a booming voice declared. Before Jaren could react, blaster fire erupted from a maintenance hatch. He ducked behind a crate, heart hammering. His few instincts screamed, "Run, hide, survive." From the corner of his eye, he saw her step forward. The alien outcast, who had seemed so fragile, raised her hands. Energy crackled between her fingers, a shimmering blue aura that wasn't blaster fire, but something different. The incoming shots bent midair, rerouted harmlessly into the wall, and then she moved with astonishing speed, closing the gap between the attackers and herself. With a single fluid motion, she disarmed them, sending their weapons spinning across the floor. Jaren gawked. He hadn't even realized she could fight, let alone that she possessed powers he couldn't begin to understand. I don't understand," he stammered. "You'll understand soon enough," she said, her voice calm yet firm. She grabbed his arm. "Come." Without thinking, he followed her as she darted through narrow maintenance tunnels, her movements almost liquid. They emerged into an abandoned observation deck, the station's main corridors now swarming with hostile forces. The alien turned to him. "They're after the prototype you accidentally delivered in your shipment last week." Jaren's mind reeled. "Accidentally what?" She gave him a pointed look. "The drone core. The one from the cargo bay. They've been hunting for it. You have it." Panic gripped him. He had assumed it was just a standard shipment, credits exchanged, boxes scanned, but someone had embedded a prototype core inside his cargo. And now the wrong people had found out. Before he could process, an alarmed screech echoed from the other side of the deck. "We have to move," she shouted, grabbing his hand. Jaren stumbled after her as they slid into a maintenance shaft. Her touch was firm but gentle, and for the first time in his life, he felt entirely unafraid. Not of the attack, not of the unknown, not even of her alien presence. Somehow, in that brief connection, a trust had formed, fragile but real. The tunnels twisted endlessly, their dim lights casting long shadows. Jaren tried to keep up, his lungs burning. "Why are you helping me?" he asked, panting. "I barely know you." She didn't answer at once, only glancing back. Because sometimes the outcasts, those who are overlooked, underestimated, are the only ones capable of seeing truth. You can't survive this alone. And she was right. Around the next corner, a squad of armed mercenaries blocked their path. Jaren froze. But she didn't hesitate. Raising her hands, she unleashed a controlled pulse of energy that knocked the mercenaries backward, leaving them groaning on the floor. Jaren blinked, still struggling to comprehend. "Keep moving," she urged. They sprinted into the cargo bay, where the prototype drone core hummed faintly in its containment unit. Jaren suddenly understood the stakes. If it fell into the wrong hands, the entire sector could descend into chaos. He glanced at her, and she gave a determined nod. Together, they lifted the containment unit, her strength far surpassing any human expectation. As they made their escape to the docking bay, blaster fire trailed them relentlessly. Jaren, for the first time, realized that the ration pack he had casually bought was more than just food. It had been her way of connecting, a small exchange of trust. And that trust was now keeping him alive. Reaching his small transport ship, Jaren fumbled with the controls, while the alien outcast stood ready, scanning the incoming threats. "Go," she commanded, eyes sharp and alert. The engines roared, lifting them away from the station just as explosions erupted behind them. He exhaled, adrenaline still surging. I owe you my life," he said, finally allowing himself to see the depth of the favor he had taken lightly. She gave a small smile, a gesture so human it almost disarmed him. Sometimes life gives us chances disguised as small exchanges. Don't forget this, Jaren. Not everyone gets to walk away. As the stars stretched past them in streaks of light, he realized that this encounter had changed him forever. The alien outcast, whom he had dismissed as a minor curiosity, had not only saved his life but had revealed a universe far larger and far stranger than he had ever imagined. For the first time he understood that sometimes the smallest investments, a ration pack, a single act of trust, could ripple into something life-altering. And perhaps one day he would have the chance to return the favor. The alien sat quietly beside him, still alert, still otherworldly, yet undeniably a friend. And somewhere deep inside, Jaren knew that the universe had just introduced him to someone he could never, ever forget. As the transport ship surged away from Orion Station, the chaos of alarms and explosions fading behind them, Jaren sank into his seat, finally allowing the adrenaline to ebb. His hands still trembled slightly, not from fear but from disbelief. The alien outcast, whom he had casually bought a ration pack from, had just saved his life. She stood beside him, calm, her large violet eyes scanning the dark stretch of space ahead. Jaren finally met her gaze. I don't know how to thank you," he said, voice thick. She shook her head gently, a faint smile curling her lips. Sometimes a small act like a ration pack creates a connection that matters more than any reward. You trusted me even briefly. That was enough. He realized the truth in her words. In the moment he had underestimated her. He had also underestimated what could happen when someone chooses to help, even when the odds are stacked against them. She had been overlooked, dismissed as an outcast, but that very fact had made her the only one capable of keeping him alive.